A wealthy lawyer sees a black cleaning lady and treats her like dirt. He makes her clean up his deliberately spilled coffee. He throws papers at her. He mocks her to impress clients. What he doesn't know? She owns the entire building, and his lease is up for renewal. Watch what happens when she finally reveals who she really is. The alarm went off at 4:30 a.m., but Patricia Montgomery was already awake. At 58 years old, her body had never forgotten the rhythm of those early morning shifts, the ones she'd worked for 15 years when she actually was a cleaning lady, not just playing one. She dressed in the dark, careful not to disturb the silence of her penthouse apartment. Simple clothes today: black pants, a plain gray shirt, comfortable shoes. She pulled her graying hair back into a practical bun and looked at herself in the mirror. From the outside, she looked exactly like what she was pretending to be, and that was the point. Pat grabbed her keys, to the Mercedes, not the cleaning cart, and took the private elevator down to the parking garage. The building was silent at this hour, just the way she liked it. She walked past rows of luxury cars until she reached her designated spot. Owner, P. Montgomery. She sat in her car for a moment, looking at the wedding ring on her finger. Thomas would have loved this. Her late husband had always appreciated a good social experiment, a way to see people's true colors. "Wish you were here to see this one, baby," she whispered. Then she opened the trunk, pulled out a worn canvas bag, and changed into her real costume for the day, a janitorial uniform with Patricia M. embroidered on the chest. She stuffed her nice clothes into the bag, locked the Mercedes, and walked to the service elevator. Time to go to work. Montgomery Tower was Patricia's crown jewel, a 20-story office building in the heart of the financial district. She'd bought it 5 years ago, the culmination of 3 decades of building a real estate empire that started with a single cleaning contract. People always assumed she'd gotten lucky. Married rich, inherited money, won the lottery. They never imagined the truth, that she'd worked 16-hour days, saved every penny, invested wisely, and built her wealth one building at a time. And now she owned 12 properties across the city, worth over $40 million combined. But nobody knew that when they saw her pushing a cleaning cart. Pat started on the 15th floor, the executive suites. This was where the real money worked, where lawyers and consultants and hedge fund managers conducted business worth millions. And this was where she'd witnessed the most appalling behavior over the years. She pulled out her cleaning supplies and started with the hallway. At 5:30 a.m., the building was mostly empty, just the way she liked it. She could work in peace, think, plan. But then she heard the elevator ding. Pat glanced up. A man stepped out, tall, white, early 40s, wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. He was on his phone, laughing at something, not watching where he was going. Jonathan Whitmore III, corporate lawyer, partner at Whitmore, Sterling and Associates, tenant for 3 years, and the biggest asshole in her building. Pat had been watching him for weeks now, documenting everything, the way he snapped at service workers, the way he left messes for others to clean, the way he spoke to anyone he considered beneath him. His lease was up for renewal next month, and Pat was still deciding whether to grant it. Whitmore walked past her without a glance, still on his phone. "No, tell them we're not accepting anything under 7 figures. I don't care what their budget is. That's their problem, not ours." He reached his office door and fumbled with his key while holding his phone, his briefcase, and a large coffee from the expensive cafe downstairs. The coffee slipped. Pat saw it happening in slow motion, the cup tumbling, the lid popping off, hot liquid splashing across the marble floor and onto Whitmore's expensive shoes. "Damn it!" he shouted, jumping back. Pat immediately moved toward him with her cleaning cart. "I'll get that for you, sir." Whitmore looked at her for the first time, his eyes registering her existence the way you'd notice a piece of furniture. "Yeah, you do that. And be quick about it. I have a meeting in 20 minutes. He didn't say please, didn't say thank you, just stood there staring at his phone while Pat got down on her knees and wiped up his spilled coffee. "This is ridiculous," Whitmore muttered. $15 for a coffee, and the idiot at the cafe didn't even put the lid on properly. Pat said nothing, just cleaned. "You know how much that coffee cost?" Whitmore asked, not really expecting an answer. $15. Probably more than you make in an hour, right? Pat paused, looking up at him. "I do all right, sir." Whitmore laughed, not a friendly laugh, but the kind that made clear he found her amusing in the way you find a child's innocent comment amusing. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. He stepped around her and into his office, leaving her to finish cleaning up his mess. Pat stood slowly, her knees protesting slightly. She was too old for this, her body reminded her, but her mind was sharp as ever, cataloging every interaction, every slight, every moment of casual cruelty. She finished cleaning and moved down the hall. 30 minutes later, she was cleaning the shared kitchen area on the 15th floor when she heard voices approaching. Whitmore's voice carried down the hallway. And I told them, if you can't afford our rates, maybe you should try legal aid. Laughter from whoever was with him. They entered the kitchen, Whitmore and two other lawyers Pat didn't recognize, probably visiting from another firm. Coffee, gentlemen? Whitmore asked, playing host. He saw Pat by the sink and snapped his fingers at her. Hey, you, make us some coffee. Pat turned slowly. The coffee machine is right there, sir. You're welcome to. I'm not asking you to give me permission, Whitmore interrupted, his tone sharp. I'm telling you to make coffee. That's what you're here for, isn't it? The two visiting lawyers looked uncomfortable. One of them said, Jonathan, we can just… Nonsense, Whitmore said. She's getting paid to serve the tenants. So serve. Pat held his gaze for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. Of course, sir. How do you take it? Black. Like… He caught himself, glanced at Pat's face, and decided not to finish whatever joke he'd been about to make. Just black. Pat made the coffee in silence while the three men talked business, completely ignoring her presence. She might as well have been a robot, a piece of equipment, anything but a human being deserving of basic respect. She served them their coffee. No, please. No, thank you. Just hands grabbing cups, conversation continuing as if she didn't exist. As she turned to leave, Whitmore called out, Oh, and when you're done here, my office trash needs emptying. Do that next. Yes, sir. Pat pushed her cart back down the hall to Whitmore's office. The door was open. He always left it open when he wasn't in there, like he was showing off. Look at my success. Look at my corner office. Look at what I've achieved. She went inside with her trash bag and started emptying the bins. And that's when she saw it. On Whitmore's desk, partially buried under other papers, his lease renewal notice, the official letter from Montgomery Property Management informing him that his current lease would expire in 30 days and offering renewal terms. Pat glanced at the door, then carefully lifted the papers to read the full document. Whitmore had scrawled notes in the margins. Try for lower rent. What's market rate? Other options? So he was shopping around, considering other buildings. That was his right, of course. But something else caught her eye. A sticky note attached to the lease. Ask Marcus about that cleaning lady, she's always around. Is she competent? Building quality declining? Pat felt a cold anger settle into her chest. Not hot, explosive anger, but the cold, calculating kind that led to consequences. She took out her phone, the cheap one she carried when she was working, and snapped a photo of the note and the lease documents. Then she carefully rearranged everything exactly as she'd found it. She finished emptying the trash and left the office, pushing her cart toward the service elevator. Marcus Bennett, the building manager, was waiting for her on the ground floor. He was one of only 3 people who knew Patricia's real identity and her real purpose for these undercover shifts. How's it going up there? Marcus asked quietly. About what I expected, Pat replied. Whitmore's being Whitmore. Did he? Oh yes, made me clean up his spilled coffee, ordered me to make coffee for his guests, and apparently he's questioning whether I'm competent enough to work in his prestigious building. Marcus winced. I'm sorry, Pat. Want me to have a word with him? No, Pat said, a small smile playing at her lips. Let him keep digging. His lease is up in 30 days. You're not going to renew? I haven't decided yet. But I'm leaning a certain direction. She checked her watch. 7:30 a.m., time for phase 2. I'm going back up, she said. The morning crowd will be arriving soon. Let's see how Mr. Whitmore treats the help when there's an audience. By 8 a.m., the building was coming alive. Elevators dinged constantly as tenants arrived for work. Lawyers, consultants, financial advisors, all streaming in with their coffee cups and briefcases and phones pressed to their ears. Pat positioned herself near the elevator bank on the 15th floor, wiping down the brass fixtures. She'd learned over the years that people revealed their true selves when they thought no one important was watching. Dr. Sarah Chen was the first to greet her. The emergency room surgeon worked crazy hours and often came in late, but she always had a smile for Pat. "Good morning, Patricia," Dr. Chen said warmly. "How are you today?" "Doing well, Dr. Chen." "How was your shift?" "Exhausting. Trauma came in at 3 a.m., didn't finish until 7, but everyone lived, so I'll call it a win." She paused. "Hey, I brought extra muffins from home. Want one?" "That's sweet of you, but I'm fine. Please, I insist. Blueberry, your favorite." Dr. Chen pulled a muffin from her bag and handed it to Pat. "And thank you for always keeping our floor so clean. I know people don't say it enough, but we notice." Pat felt a genuine warmth. "Thank you, Dr. Chen. That means a lot." After Dr. Chen headed to her office, Pat carefully wrapped the muffin in a napkin. She'd add this to her notes. "Tenant number 307, Dr. Sarah Chen, consistently respectful, treats all staff with dignity, lease renewal approved." Then Whitmore stepped off the elevator. He was with a client this time, an older white man in an even more expensive suit if that was possible. They were deep in conversation about merger terms and due diligence. Pat continued wiping the brass fixtures invisible to them, until Whitmore's phone rang. "Excuse me," he said to his client, answering it. "Whitmore." His expression darkened. "What do you mean the contracts aren't ready?" "I specifically told Rebecca." He paused. "I don't care what excuse she has. Get them done, now." He hung up, visibly frustrated. That's when he noticed Pat. "You," he snapped. "My office. The conference table has water rings on it from yesterday's meeting. I need it cleaned before my 9 a.m. "Yes, sir," Pat said quietly. "And use the good polish this time." Last week it looked streaky. Pat hadn't cleaned his conference table last week. That had been Gerald, the evening shift worker. But she didn't correct Whitmore, just nodded and headed to his office with her supplies. As she walked past, she heard Whitmore say to his client, "Sorry about that. Good help is so hard to find these days. Even the cleaning staff is incompetent." His client looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Pat entered Whitmore's office and went to work on the conference table. It didn't need cleaning. There were no water rings, but she polished it anyway. As she worked, she noticed Whitmore's personal items scattered around. Photos of him at exclusive clubs, diplomas from prestigious universities, awards for excellence in corporate law. Everything about this office screamed privilege, old money, connections, a life where doors opened automatically because of your last name. Pat thought about her own office, 3 floors down, the one nobody knew about. The one with the sign on the door that read, P. Montgomery, owner. The one with her own diplomas on the wall, earned at night school while working full-time, while raising 2 kids, while building an empire from nothing. Different worlds, different struggles. "Are you done yet?" Pat turned to find Whitmore standing in the doorway, tapping his watch impatiently. "Almost, sir." "Just finishing." "Well, hurry up. My client will be here any minute, and I can't have you in here when we're discussing confidential matters." "Of course, sir." Pat finished quickly and gathered her supplies. As she pushed her cart toward the door, Whitmore said, "And try to be quieter when you're cleaning in the mornings. Your cart squeaks. It's distracting." Pat looked down at her cart. The wheels were fine. She'd checked them herself. "I'll take care of it, sir." "See that you do." She left his office and headed down the hallway, her mind cataloging every interaction, but she wasn't prepared for what happened next. Whitmore's paralegal, Rebecca Morrison, was waiting by the elevator. She was a young woman in her late 20s, always professionally dressed, always polite. And right now, she looked distressed. "Patricia," Rebecca said quietly, glancing around to make sure they were alone. "I just wanted to apologize for Mr. Whitmore. The way he speaks to you, it's not right." Pat studied her carefully. "You don't need to apologize for him, honey. I know, but I work for him, and sometimes I feel complicit when I don't say anything. I should stand up to him, but you need this job," Pat finished gently. Rebecca nodded miserably. I have student loans. My apartment rent is due, and jobs at law firms don't grow on trees, but it doesn't make it right. No, Pat agreed. It doesn't. But I appreciate you saying something. Rebecca hesitated. Can I tell you something? Off the record? Of course. He does this to everyone, not just you. Last month he made a Latina court clerk cry because she didn't file something fast enough. 2 weeks ago, he yelled at a restaurant server for bringing the wrong wine. And yesterday, Rebecca's voice dropped even lower. Yesterday he called one of the junior associates an idiot in front of the entire office because of a typo in a brief. Why do people put up with it? Pat asked, though she already knew the answer. Because he brings in millions in business. Because the senior partners love him. Because complaining would mean career suicide. Rebecca looked defeated. That's just how it works. That's how it works, Pat repeated softly. Until it doesn't. Rebecca looked confused, but before she could ask what Pat meant, the elevator arrived. You take care of yourself, Pat said. And remember, people who abuse power don't keep it forever. One day, they meet someone they can't bully. Rebecca managed a small smile. I hope you're right. The elevator doors closed, and Pat was alone in the hallway again. She continued her cleaning rounds, but her mind was working through the problem of Jonathan Whitmore III. She'd dealt with difficult tenants before, people who complained about everything, who paid rent late, who violated building policies. But Whitmore was different. He wasn't just a problem tenant. He was a symptom of a bigger disease, entitlement, classism, the belief that some people mattered and others didn't. At 10:30 a.m., Pat took her break in the building's staff room, a small space in the basement that most tenants didn't even know existed. She pulled out her real phone, the iPhone 14 Pro, and made a call. Marcus, it's me. I need you to pull Whitmore's full file. Every complaint, every late payment, every violation, and check with the other tenants on his floor. Have any of them complained about noise or disruption from his office? You're building a case, Marcus observed. I'm doing my due diligence. His lease renewal meeting is Friday. I want to know exactly who I'm dealing with. Pat, you know if you deny his renewal, his firm will probably threaten legal action. They'll claim discrimination or retaliation or... Let them try, Pat said calmly. I have documentation of every incident, security camera footage, witness statements, and most importantly, I have a business right to refuse to renew a lease to any tenant who creates a hostile environment for my staff and other tenants. She could hear Marcus smiling through the phone. You've been planning this for a while, haven't you? I started documenting his behavior 6 months ago, right after he made that delivery driver cry. I wanted to give him a chance to change, to show some human decency. But he's only gotten worse. So Friday's meeting will be very interesting, Pat finished. Make sure to schedule it for 10 a.m. in the main conference room. And Marcus, make sure he doesn't know the owner will be attending. He still thinks you're just the cleaning lady? He hasn't asked a single question about who owns this building. It never occurred to him to wonder. That's the problem with people like Whitmore. They only notice people they consider important. Pat finished her break and went back upstairs. The afternoon passed with more of the same, more casual dismissals, more orders barked without a please or thank you, more evidence of Whitmore's character. At 3 p.m., Pat witnessed the final straw. She was cleaning the shared copier room when Whitmore stormed in, furious about something. His paralegal, Rebecca, scurried after him, trying to calm him down. I don't want to hear excuses, Whitmore yelled. You had one job, and you screwed it up. Mr. Whitmore, I filed the motion on time, but the court clerk said, I don't care what some clerk said. Your job is to make sure things get done, not to make excuses about why they didn't. Rebecca's eyes were welling with tears. I'm sorry. I'll fix it. You're damn right you'll fix it, and you'll do it on your own time. I'm not paying you overtime for your incompetence. Pat stopped cleaning and looked up. The copier room had a large window that looked out onto the hallway. Other tenants were noticing the commotion. Dr. Chen stood in her doorway, frowning. 2 associates from another firm had paused their conversation to watch. Whitmore was making a scene, and he didn't even care. Mr. Whitmore, Pat said quietly, He spun around, noticing her for the first time. What? Maybe this conversation would be better held in private, sir. Other tenants can hear. I don't remember asking for your opinion, Whitmore snapped. Why don't you mind your own business and go back to cleaning toilets or whatever it is you do? The hallway went silent. Even Whitmore seemed to realize he'd crossed a line, but instead of apologizing, he doubled down. This is a private conversation between me and my employee. You have no right to interrupt. Now get out. Pat looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly, picked up her cleaning supplies, and left the room. But as she walked down the hallway, she pulled out her phone and sent a text to Marcus. Meeting moved up to Thursday. 10 a.m. conference room. Make sure Whitmore's there. It was time to stop playing pretend. Thursday morning, 9:45 a.m. Jonathan Whitmore checked his calendar and frowned. Meeting with Montgomery Property Management, conference room B, 10 a.m. He'd forgotten about this. Probably just some routine lease renewal formality. Sign a few papers, maybe negotiate the rent down a bit, done by 10:30. He told Rebecca to reschedule his 10:30 call and headed down to the 12th floor. Conference room B was the building's nicest meeting space. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a massive oak table, leather chairs. Whitmore approved. At least management knew how to treat important tenants. Marcus Bennett, the building manager, was already there setting up. Good morning, Mr. Whitmore. Thank you for coming. Let's make this quick, Whitmore said, sitting at the head of the table without being invited. I have a busy day. Of course. The owner will be here shortly. Whitmore looked up. The owner? I thought this was just a lease renewal. It is. But Ms. Montgomery likes to meet personally with tenants when their leases are up. She's very hands-on. Miss Montgomery? Whitmore had never even wondered who owned the building. Some faceless corporation, he'd assumed. Fine. But I really can't stay past 10:30. Marcus smiled slightly. I don't think this will take long. At exactly 10 a.m., the conference room door opened. Patricia Montgomery walked in, but not the Patricia who pushed a cleaning cart. This Patricia wore a tailored charcoal suit, pearls, heels. Her hair was styled professionally. She carried a leather portfolio and moved with unmistakable authority. Whitmore stared. His brain struggled to process what he was seeing. Good morning, Mr. Whitmore, Pat said, her voice the same but her tone completely different. She extended her hand. I'm Patricia Montgomery, owner of this building and 11 others in the city. I don't believe we've been formally introduced. Whitmore's hand moved automatically to shake hers, but his face had gone white. You're the cleaning lady. I was cleaning, yes. Observing, actually. I like to know who my tenants really are. Pat sat down across from him and opened her portfolio. Shall we discuss your lease renewal? I don't understand, Whitmore stammered. Why would you pretend to be a janitor? Pat finished. Because people show their true character when they think no one important is watching. You, for instance, have shown me exactly who you are over the past 3 months. She pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Whitmore opened it with shaking hands. Inside were printed photos. Him making her clean up his coffee, him snapping his fingers at her, him yelling at Rebecca in the hallway. That's security footage, Pat explained. This building has cameras everywhere. Every interaction you've had with my staff has been documented. This is entrapment, Whitmore said, his lawyer instincts kicking in. You can't. Can't what? Observe how tenants treat my employees, can't document harassment, can't make informed decisions about who I want in my building. Pat's voice was calm but firm. I can do all of those things, Mr. Whitmore. And I have. She pulled out another document. Your lease expires in 2 weeks. I'm not renewing it. What? Whitmore shot to his feet. You can't do that. What? Whitmore shot to his feet. You can't do that. Yes, I can. I'm the owner. And you've violated multiple building policies. Harassment of staff. Creating a hostile environment. On 3 occasions, other tenants complained about noise from your office. You've been given warnings. You've ignored them. Those warnings came from him, Whitmore pointed at Marcus. Not from me, Pat interrupted. Marcus works for me. When he sends a warning, it comes from me. Whitmore's face was red now, anger replacing shock. This is discrimination. I'll sue. My firm will do what? Pat leaned forward. Claim that I'm discriminating against you because you're a wealthy white lawyer? Good luck with that. Meanwhile, I have hours of footage showing you creating a hostile work environment. I have statements from multiple witnesses. I have documentation of every policy violation. She stood up. You have 2 weeks to vacate the premises. I'll be happy to provide a reference stating that you paid your rent on time, but I will not renew your lease. This meeting is over. Whitmore was sputtering now. Do you know who I am? My family has connections. I know exactly who you are, Mr. Whitmore. You're a man who treats people as disposable when you think they can't fight back. You're a bully who uses his position to abuse others. Pat's voice was steel now. But I'm not someone you can bully. And this is my building. She walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and one more thing. Dr. Chen from down the hall, she's been looking to expand her practice. I'm offering her your office space. She's renewing for 5 years. But that's my office. No, Pat corrected. It was my office that I was leasing to you. There's a difference. She left. Whitmore stood there in shock as Marcus gathered the papers. You can see yourself out, Mr. Whitmore, Marcus said. Security will escort you if necessary. By noon, word had spread through the building. The cleaning lady was actually the owner. She'd exposed a tenant's true character. She'd kicked out one of the most prestigious law firms in the city. Reactions were mixed. Some tenants were nervous, wondering if they'd been tested too. Others were thrilled, especially those who'd witnessed Whitmore's behavior. Dr. Chen knocked on Pat's office door at 2 p.m. Is it true? You're offering me the corner office? If you want it, Pat said. Your lease is up next month anyway. I'd rather have you on the 15th floor. But the rent for a corner office? Same rate as your current space for the first 2 years. After that, we can discuss it. Pat smiled. You've been a good tenant, Dr. Chen. You treat people with respect. That matters to me. Dr. Chen's eyes welled up. Thank you. You have no idea what this means. I think I do. After Dr. Chen left, Pat sat alone in her office. The office she'd bought with money earned from years of cleaning other people's buildings. The empire she'd built by working harder than anyone else, by investing wisely, by never forgetting where she came from. Her phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca, Whitmore's former paralegal. Is your company hiring? I can't work for him anymore. Not after today. Pat smiled and typed back. Come by tomorrow. Let's talk. 2 weeks later, Pat was back in her cleaning uniform, pushing her cart through the building, not because she had to, but because she wanted to, because it kept her connected to reality, because it reminded her that respect isn't about job titles or bank accounts. It's about how you treat people when you think no one's watching. She passed the 15th floor corner office. Dr. Chen was moving in, directing movers with a huge smile on her face. She saw Pat and waved enthusiastically. Patricia, come see. Pat parked her cart and went inside. The space looked completely different, warmer, more welcoming. It's perfect, Dr. Chen said. I still can't believe this is happening. Believe it, Pat said. You earned it. Can I ask you something? Dr. Chen's voice dropped. Why do you still clean? I mean, you own the building. You don't have to. Pat thought about it. My husband Thomas and I started with one cleaning contract 30 years ago. We built everything from that. He died 10 years back, but I still remember what he used to say. Don't forget where you came from, Pat. Don't ever forget. She looked around the office. This building? It's not just brick and mortar to me, it's people. And if I only see them when I'm wearing an expensive suit, I'm only seeing half the truth. When I'm pushing a cleaning cart, people forget I'm there. They show me who they really are. And that's why you caught Whitmore. That's why I catch all of them, Pat confirmed. The ones who don't deserve to be here. That evening, Pat drove home in her Mercedes, still wearing her cleaning uniform. At a stoplight, a young businessman in the next lane glanced over and smirked, probably wondering how a cleaning lady could afford such a nice car. Pat smiled to herself. Let him wonder. Because she'd learned the most important lesson of all. Real power isn't about making people fear you. It's about knowing exactly who deserves your respect and who doesn't, and having the courage to act on it. Jonathan Whitmore III found new office space eventually, in a building where the owner never bothered to meet the tenants, where complaints disappeared into voicemail, where people like him could continue treating others as invisible. But every time he saw a janitor, every time he passed a cleaning cart in a hallway, he remembered. Remembered the woman he'd dismissed, mocked, ordered around, the woman who owned the building, the woman who'd taught him that you never really know who you're dealing with until it's too late. If this story moved you, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Comment below. Do you think Whitmore got what he deserved? Have you ever been underestimated because of your job? Let's talk about it. And remember, treat everyone with respect. You never know who's watching. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.